I recently sailed on Celebrity Xcel for the inaugural sailing and tried out the Bora dining experience, and I'm gonna go through the whole thing with you and let you know if it is worth your time and money. Let's get into it. Bora is another new restaurant offered in the Celebrity Edge class ships on the brand new Celebrity Xcel. I just reviewed Mosaic, which was the other new restaurant to the ship. It was a unique experience, but it did not live up to my expectations, and we're gonna go through why. Okay, so Bora is kind of a Mediterranean inspired restaurant, which makes sense because one of the main itineraries that they're going to do on the Celebrity Xcel is going to be a Mediterranean cruise. I was really excited to try this out because it looked really pretty. The menu offerings looked very nice. They have several fish dishes. They had their bread service was super unique, and it is on the rooftop garden, so it replaces the rooftop garden grill. Bora is also specialty dining. They offer a brunch opportunity that I could never book. I was like, maybe I'll book for brunch too, try it out, because I didn't even look at that menu pre-sailing, but brunch was always booked. I could never get in there, and I booked the dinner. It was $65. So let's just jump into the experience. First, I will say the highlight. The restaurant itself is beautiful. I mean, it looks like you're in one of those, you see the quintessential pictures of Greece with the white building with the blue rooftops. It was so scenic and pretty in there. And they had this really cool floral hanging centerpiece, and there was someone playing acoustic guitar every time. Even when I walked past during brunch, there was someone who was singing and playing, and it sounded amazing. But like the perfect background music, it did not overwhelm. When I got on the cruise ship, so if you didn't know this, when you do specialty dining, well, this is my experience on the Xcel, they would give you a reminder in your room. And so my little reminder in my room for that day said to come for this like 30-minute pre-dinner dining little experience that you could do, where there's a complimentary drink and music and just like a little social moment beforehand. So I was so excited, and I went up for the social moment, and there was nothing going on. I looked around, there was no one with a drink cart. There was no one really socializing. No one greeted me. I thought, and I was like, maybe I'm missing something. I kind of walked around, I sat and I looked, and there was nothing. There was no social moment. The social moment did not happen, and that was a big letdown. And that was kind of a foreshadowing of what was to come. At night, cruise ships are moving. They're going places. You're going to your next port, unless it's one of those less common cruises where you're docked somewhere overnight. The cruise ship is moving, and the funnel is back there where the aft of the ship. So it was loud. You could hear the engine going, and it was very breezy. And they sat me at the entrance of the restaurant where there was all the breeze. And I was like, it's constant wind, it's loud, and I didn't like it. And this one of the when you're cruising, one or two people who are dining, you know this, if it's just like a couple going or you're solo, you tend to be seated in the more high traffic areas closer to the kitchen, like unless they have booths and larger seating, a wider range of seating available. And it was not great. There was one other lady who was eating solo as well, and she said, I don't want a table over there. Can I have another table somewhere else? And the gentleman said, the maitre d' said, yes, but you'll have to wait. And she said, that's fine. Next time I'm going to do that. Experience with where I was sitting, the noise from the engine, and just the fact that it was so drafty. So glad I brought a shawl. I didn't like it. And the other thing that kind of brought the ambiance score down a little bit is that the waiters were just moving and shaking. There was a lot of movement, and in a smaller, intimate space, sure, that makes sense, but they looked rushed. And I was like, am I just feeling some type of way about where I'm sitting? What's going on? But I would look at their faces, and I saw one person who kind of looked calm, but several of them, including the maitre d', looked just worried, concerned, like stressed. I felt stress from the wait staff, and I was like, this is weird. It's not like the hustle and bustle of confident industry that came from. It was stress. So I feel like for me, the ambiance was like, I'm not going to go under 3. I want to say like 2.75. I'm going to say 3 to be a little bit fair. Maybe I think if I was sitting in a different location, I would have had a better experience. And maybe it was because it's so new. maybe there was more going on that I didn't see. So we're gonna give the ambiance and the vibe and just the experience of being in the restaurant, we're gonna give it a 3. Next, moving on to the food. I enjoyed the food. So it was another prefixed menu with 3 courses. Well, not including, so there was a bread service, appetizer, entree, dessert. So I really appreciated how unique the menu was. They really did have a very good Mediterranean inspired menu, nice fish options, unique vegetable options. It was a little bit harder for me to find things I knew for sure I would like because some of the Mediterranean flavors are not for me, but I was able to find something for sure. And I enjoyed the food that I had. The bread service was really, really, really good, and there was a lot of bread. So one thing I appreciate about Celebrity in general is that except for maybe Mosaic, I was like, this is enough bread for 4 people. What am I gonna do with this? And the dipping sauces were unique. I didn't love them, but the bread in of itself was great. And then roasted cauliflower and broccoli. I think the roasted cauliflower as my appetizer, and I mean, how healthy is that? And then I had roasted cauliflower as my appetizer, and then I had a basically fried fish with broccoli as my entree. All right, snapper with this sauce, and that was supposed to be charred broccolini, but I think it's just charred broccoli. The fish was really light, very flaky, very moist, but it didn't have flavor. And that really bothered me. And the broccoli is hard to get right. Like, I know for restaurants, they're rushed. When I roast broccoli, I roast it in like a lot of oil and I put lemon pepper, like a whole bunch of seasonings on it. And that's just enough for it not to just taste like a green crown of something in your mouth. It was okay, but it wasn't amazing. That was the food. It was okay. I'm paying $65 though. And I felt better about the food I had at Le Grand Bistro for lunch for $35 than I did about the Bora food for $65 because it was a lot of food, but it was mediocre flavor. I'm so sorry. What's crazy is so many people rave about it. It's amazing, it's amazing, it's amazing. I'm like, if you can't get fried fish to have some flavor, we have a problem. It could also be that, oh gosh, I know I'm gonna get some heated comments about this, but I'll say it this way. Different people grow up with different palates and different experiences of flavor. My mom made sure that we grew up with very healthy meals, but also I'm from the South and Southerners are known for flavor in their food. I think that's one thing we do really well here. And I'm not talking about like high sodium foods and stuff. We didn't have all that all the time growing up, but I'm used to rich food, rich flavors. That's what I'm trying to say. And you can do rich flavors healthy, guys. There was no richness to the flavors, and that's what bothered me. Then the dessert offerings were like so limited and not unique at all. I got the affogato because that was the only thing I thought that I would like, but I'm like, where's a tart, a good cake? You know, so it was okay food, and it was a step above as far as the quality and the uniqueness of what they offered from the MDR, the main dining room, but there was no flavor. And So I'm gonna give the food a 2.75. I wanna say 3, but I just didn't enjoy it enough, except for the bread service. And I don't think it's enough to give it a 3 or more just because I really like the bread service and the roasted cauliflower. Like the entree has to hit for me to give it a 3 or more. I couldn't do that. And then the service, they were trying, but I felt more like an inconvenience. And I'm gonna tell you, that's the only restaurant that I had that experience. I didn't even have that experience in the buffet, but I felt like an inconvenience. I had this feeling of like tenseness. It was a tense energy. And I do a lot of giving the benefit of the doubt, and I'm there dining for myself. I'm focusing on me, but the fact that I kind of sensed this tense energy in there was kind of weird to me. I don't know where it was coming from. I hated where I was sitting and I felt forgotten. That stood out to me because I didn't have that experience at any other dining time on Celebrity. On other cruises, it's like, it's normal. I've been on, it's like, oh, okay, they have the quicker service. Oh, how lovely, because they forget you. But on this one, that was never the case. So it took a long time for my waiter to check on me, to fill up my drink, it was a lot. And maybe they were understaffed there. I don't know what was going on, but they weren't ready. Not for me. And to have such a quality experience from Mosaic, like Mosaic had me on a high, and I had high expectations from that, and Bora, it didn't live up to the same expectations. So price for the value, I think that if the food had the flavor, I would have felt like it was worth it. I think maybe 50, 55 would have been reasonable. 58 maybe would have been reasonable, but definitely not 60 above for the experience that I have. It just wasn't there. It fell too flat. And I think too, even if the food wasn't so amazing, if the service had been better, like I didn't even feel comfortable telling my waiter, I didn't like this, can I try something else? Because I wasn't convinced that he would bring other food in time for me not to be like, let me just give up so I can make it to the show that I want to go see. So I'm going to give the service as the 2. I hate to do that, but I have to be true to how I felt about it. So I'm going to give the service a 2. We're going to do that. And so let's do a tally. So 3 stars for the ambiance, 2.75 for the food, and a 2 for the service brings us to 7.75 out of 15 palm trees. And that is a score of 51%. And that is okay. It's okay. Not great, not bad, but just okay. And I expected way more for a dining experience of $65. You know that you can get included food on a cruise. So if you're doing specialty dining, you're looking for a unique experience, and that's what the cruise is promising to deliver. I just don't think that they did that for me. A couple more useful things to know though, when you cruise and do specialty dining on Celebrity, if you have the non-alcoholic drink or a drink package that includes the specialty drinks and whatnot, that is included for your specialty dining. So you don't pay extra for specialty drinks or sodas when you're doing the specialty dining experience, and they'll just get your card, verify the information, and voila, I had a lovely lemonade that I really liked. There was a bit of a wait when I got there, and there was a wait for lots of people. I think they overbooked. Looking back, I believe that they overbooked that restaurant, not anticipating the popularity, because there was always a line of people waiting, and it was like a 10-ish minute wait, which is not, especially for when I go to dinner, not quite. I'm not used to seeing that for specialty dining experiences for cruises, having that a line of people waiting. Now you could rest in the rooftop garden, and I think maybe the social hour was supposed to help with that. Maybe they did anticipate it, but where was the social hour? Or 30 minutes, you know? I don't know. A lot of other people love it. I did not. So if you watch my videos and you see like, oh, we're similar in these ways, and you feel like, I like her recommendations, they're pretty spot on for me, then maybe Bora wouldn't be great for you. I would say proceed with caution. But I looked at Facebook forums on Facebook, different groups. I've joined a few cruise groups just to see what other people are saying and to get ideas and inspiration for things to do. And folks are like, oh, where should I go? Oh, Bora, 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 Bora. It was great, it was great, it was great, it was great. And I was like, they must have different taste buds than me. I don't know. And again, there were several factors: where I was sitting, how the food tasted, my expectations versus what I got. And honestly, I think that they set the expectation high and they didn't meet it. They promised something that they didn't deliver, whereas Mosaic had all these little surprises that wasn't going to anticipate, you know? So they could do better. Bora can be better. So Bora, it's not Nico approved, but it is approved by a lot of other people. I just hope that my experience can help you prepare for yours. Try it and look at what other people say before you go, just based off of my word. Okay, so that is the review of Bora, and this is actually the last vlog in this particular series about Celebrity Xcel. But stay tuned, because I have some more Disney videos coming up from my Disney lovers, some restaurant reviews and experience reviews at Disney. And we have a Carnival Mardi Gras series coming up real soon. So stay tuned for more cruise fun. Thank you so much for letting me bring you along on my travels and share these experiences with you. I'm so glad to have you a part of my travel community, and thank you for being my travel bestie. So remember, a life well lived is a life well traveled. So travel well, my dear, and we'll catch up in next week's video. Bye.